Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm bringing you guys Week 10 quarterback start or sit decisions for fantasy football in 2020. Inside of this video, we are going to be discussing every single matchup from tonight's Thursday Night Football all the way until Monday Night Football, and talk about whether you should start or sit the quarterbacks in each and every single game. So before we get into it, I'd like to ask that if at any point inside of this video that you end up enjoying, please make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button down below. I would really appreciate that, and it's going to help you guys out a ton to get that fantasy football championship. And real quick, before we get into it, I'd like to give you guys a quick word from my friends, my sponsor over at OverlayDFS.com. OverlayDFS.com is my favorite place to play daily fantasy sports, especially here on the matchup shop. Now, they also offer progressive bonus games that you can also play as well, the tournament that's also on the top of the screen, but I mostly play in the matchup shop game variant on OverlayDFS.com. It's so simple. Pretty much you got to choose between the matchups. This is for Thursday night tonight. They typically add more than this, so there may be a little bit more than these matchups when you actually log on Thursday night, but the lines do end up moving, so you want to get them right when you see them because the lines do move just like in real sports betting. Pretty much what it is player versus player fantasy football. Who scores more fantasy points? Derrick Henry minus 8.5 or Jonnu Smith plus 8.5? Who scores more fantasy points? Ryan Tannehill minus 5.5 or AJ Brown plus 5.5. It is that simple. You guys do research all week long to win your fantasy football league, so why not win some cash on the side on OverlayDFS.com. And we are back. Let's get into it. Week 10 quarterback start or sit decisions. We begin with tonight's game. Colts at the Le Titans, and in this one, I like Ryan Tannehill, but Ryan Tannehill is kind of at the bottom tier of the guys I'm willing to start. He's pretty much is the quarterback that is at the cutoff of guys that I'm willing to start, and the guys below him are guys that I'm going to be sitting. I just don't feel ultra confident in Ryan Tannehill in this one. I think this is going to be a very run-heavy matchup going up against that Colts defense, and Ryan Tannehill did not look that great the last couple of weeks, but again, Ryan Tannehill is very talented, and I think a top 15-ish quarterback for this week is in the books for Ryan Tannehill this week. For the guy on the other side of the ball, old man Philip fucking Rivers, the man with 12,000 kids, is going to be having not the greatest game in this one. I feel like this Colts offense is just so run-heavy. Without T.Y. Hilton, this passing offense is going to struggle in this one. I just don't feel like Philip Rivers will be able to get it done, at least for fantasy football-wise, for this game. They could obviously win the game, but it won't be, in my opinion, by a big game from Phil the Thrill Rivers. Now on to the Sunday slate. We begin with the Philadelphia Eagles at the New York Football Giants, and in this one, I like Carson Wentz in this matchup. If you guys remember, a couple of weeks ago when the Philadelphia Eagles played up against the Giants, Carson Wentz put up quite the good game. Coming off the bye, Miles Sanders may return in this one. If not, it's going to be Boston Scott. But either way, I think this game is all Carson Wentz all night long. I think Carson Wentz is going to tear the New York Football Giants a new asshole, and I like Wentz in this one. For Danny Dimes, a.k.a. Danny Stumbles, who gets his nickname from this game a couple of weeks ago when this man was running at Mach speed. He hit the fucking NOS on the car like he was in Fast and Furious, and he was going so fast, and then just died out, and he passed out straight on the goddamn field. But Daniel Jones has looked all right thus far this season, but for fantasy football, I would definitely look elsewhere in a game that I feel like is not going to be ultra high scoring from either team. I just feel like Wentz will throw like 2 touchdowns, and he'll be worthy of a start this week. Next game, here we got the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Green Bay Packers, and in this one, I do not like Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Jake Luton. Luton in his first ever NFL game far exceeded my expectations of how he would play, but last week he was playing up against the Houston Texans defense, and that defense is burnt fucking toast. I think Jake Luton is going to struggle this week up against the Green Bay Packers defense that looked pretty solid last week up against the 49ers. Obviously, the score may not have told you that, but they kind of gave up at the end of the game and let up some kind of garbage time points to Big Dick Nick Mullins and friends in 49ers, or in San Francisco, I should say. For this one, I just don't feel like Jake Luton is going to let the pigskin fly in this matchup. If it was Gardner Minshew, I would believe heavily more in that, but for some reason, Gardner Minshew is still hurt. If you're listening on podcast, I kind of just did the kind of air quote thing because I don't believe Gardner Minshew is hurt. I really think the Jaguars want to get one of those quarterback, Lance, Fields, or Trevor Lawrence, so they're just trying to lose as many games as possible to fuck Mr. Gardner out of a job. I still love you, Mr. Gardner Minshew, but you're not going to be playing in this one. You all know who is going to be playing in this one, though. Mr. Discount Double Check, Mr. Double Pump, A.A. Ron Rodgers, going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He is going to cut through this defense like O.J. Simpson cut through his girlfriend. I think this one is going to be a murder on the field, and the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be deceased when the game comes to a close. I love Aaron Rodgers in this matchup. We saw him dissect that defense last week of the San Francisco 49ers like they were inside of a high school biology fucking class and they're dissecting a frog. That's what Aaron Rodgers did to that defense. I think he's going to do the exact same thing up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Next game, here we got the Washington football team at the Detroit Lions. In this one, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't feel comfortable starting any of the three quarterbacks in this game. Matthew Stafford, in my opinion, probably will suit up on Sunday, but the backup is going to be Mr. Chase Daniel in that game. Alex Smith just did not look all that good thus far last week and hasn't looked all that good when he's had to play thus far this season. Kyle Allen is out for the rest of the season, so it's going to be Alex Smith's season. I said season 3 times fast. Or 3 times in a fucking row season. Sally goes to the seashore to get seashells by the seashore, something like that. But Alex Smith got his leg fucked up, but he's okay now. Big props to Alex Smith to be able to play in the fucking NFL at this point. The guy went from almost losing his leg to dropping his third leg on some defenses. But with that said, I think this is going to be a low-scoring affair. I don't think Alex Smith or Matty Snapback do anything if both of those guys are the starting quarterbacks. I don't expect Dwayne Haskins to come out of nowhere because, again, they benched him for character issues. I mean, kind of every quarterback has a bit of character issues, in my opinion, in a lot of scenarios. You see guys with that, but I guess Riverboat Ron wasn't tolerating it and said skedaddle to Mr. Dwayne Trashcan Haskins. Next game, here we got the Houston Texans at the Cleveland Browns, and in this one, I like both quarterbacks in this matchup for the Texans. Deshaun Watson did not come off the season or not come into the season riding a super hot streak. He actually wasn't all that amazing at the beginning of the season for fantasy. But as of recently, the wide receivers of this Houston Texans team have really caught their stride after they fired Mr. Bill O'Brien. B.O.B. is Brittany bitch. Deshaun Watson has looked very good. Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller have been a nice tag team. They're going to go to Pound Town on the Cleveland Browns defense, so I like Deshaun Watson in this one, and I do like Baker Mayfield. Now, obviously, it's a lot harder to trust Baker Mayfield when his wide receiver 1 is Jarvis Landry, and behind that, it's just a smorgasbord of random fucking names. Rashad Higgins, you know who that guy is? He's a starting wide receiver on this team. There's a bunch of other ones as well who, in my opinion, aren't even worthy of naming. Regardless of it, the Houston Texans defense is dog shit. Terrible. Atrocious, and the Browns actually look good. It's like a fucking miracle. It's like the world, we're living in a alternate dimension where the Browns are actually good, and Baker Mayfield has looked fine thus far this season, so I like him to cut up the Houston Texans defense this week. Next game, here we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tampa Bay Tom Brady at the Carolina Panthers, and in this one, I like Tom Brady on the bounce-back game. Now, Tom Brady doesn't get fucked in the ass like he did by Drew Brees and friends in New Orleans last week and not come back absolutely furious. He is going to come back with the use of zero goddamn lube on the Carolina Panthers defense. It is going to be a murder scene in Carolina. Tom Brady is going to torch them. AB, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. They've got the trifecta of wide receivers, just like Jameis Winston had the trifecta to form a W that he ate last week after they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I think Brady has that bounce-back game. I just don't see a world where Tom Brady sucks cock 2 games in a row. Just don't see it coming. I just smacked something. I just do not see Tom Brady playing that bad 2 games in a row, frankly. So I'm going to go ahead and say that TB12 is going to be worthy of a start this week, and I wouldn't expect him to play bad at all, to be honest with you, even though I kind of hope he does because I don't really like Tom Brady. But again, I take my bias out of the equation. I talk about the player, and I think the player is going to play good here up against the Carolina Panthers. I don't think TB12 is so washed yet. On the other side of the ball, we got Teddy Roosevelt, Teddy Bridgewater, Teddy Two Gloves going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, the Buccaneers defense is fierce, like Carol Baskin to her fucking husband when she also murdered that man. But Teddy Bridgewater has played all right thus far this season. He's been a very, very safe quarterback, though, on a weekly basis. Just a guy that dumps off 200-plus yards, 2 touchdowns pretty much every single game. But this Buccaneers defense got absolutely exposed like Kim Kardashian did in that video with Ray J. And I think that Teddy Bridgewater is just not going to be able to produce how well Drew Brees did last week. So I expect a down game for Teddy Two Gloves in this matchup up against the Bucs. Next game, here we got my Miami Dolphins up against the Los Angeles Chargers, the matchup of the 2 rookies in Hard Rock Stadium in sunny Florida. And man, this is going to be one entertaining game to watch. It really is. Tua's first ever NFL game, besides the Jets one, which he won 3-0 right now. Just kidding. He's really 2-0. He played up against the Jets like 2 snaps. Then he plays the Rams. The Dolphins defense kind of win the game. Tua doesn't show too much off because he didn't really have to. Last week, up against the Arizona Cardinals, Tua stuck his cock balls deep up the Arizona Cardinals' ass and has looked good. 2-0 as a starter. I'm a Dolphins fan. I love Tua. I even have his jersey in the closet. I wear it on the Sunday live streams when the Dolphins are playing. I wear it the whole fucking game. The Dolphins have never lost when I wore the jersey and the combo of the pajama pants, so I will continue to do that, just so you guys know. Lay the mortgage on the Miami Dolphins to beat the LA Chargers. Tua is going to look better in this game. The Chargers defense, frankly, cannot close out a lead. Their defense looks like complete and utter soft serve ice cream. They look completely terrible, and Tua will get the opportunity to throw the ball all over the yard in this game, just like he kind of did up against the Arizona Cardinals. So I expect a top 10 performance out of Tua Tagovailoa in this matchup. For the LA Chargers, Justin Herbert has looked like a fierce competitor as well. Now, ultimately, the reason why they've been losing these games besides last week is because the defense has been sleeping for the LA Chargers, which causes for high-scoring matchups, which I expect this one to be. That's why I like both Herbert and Tagovailoa in this matchup. I think both of them have potential for top 10 weeks. I think Herbert, honestly, may have even higher potential just due to the fact that Herbert just throws for 300 fucking yards just every single game. The guy's a very good quarterback. I personally like Tua better because he's my Dolphins quarterback. But with that said, I think both these guys are going to be able to have good games on Sunday. Next matchup here, we got the Denver Broncos at the Las Vegas Raiders. And in this matchup, I like Derek Carr a lot in this one. Derek Carr has played well thus far the last couple of games. This Raiders offense has been humming like a goddamn bird during the games. And while Derek Carr legitimately has the weirdest wide receiver core you've ever seen, you have a guy named Nelson fucking Aguilar who may be the worst wide receiver in NFL history, who goes from Philly and lands in Las Vegas where you can catch anything, and he catches everything now. It's crazy. It genuinely is crazy. But Derek Carr has looked very good this season. Derek Carr with Mariota, maybe it just took for them to bring in Mariota, for Mariota to be watching from the bench, holding the fucking clipboard, for Derek Carr to finally get the spark under his ass, to be able to be a good quarterback, and I respect it. Derek Carr back in the saddle, looking good here up against the Denver Broncos. I almost want to start horsecock Drew Lock, but the guy's a little too hot, in my opinion. He's a little too on fire as of recently. I feel like he's going to go back down onto the downturn of Drew Lock, but eventually, again, in this season, we'll probably see, there's a bunch of games left, the horsecock Drew Lock stonks rise through the goddamn roof before the season ends so that the guy can keep his job. I'm just going to assume that's what happens, but Drew Lock is going to be a sit for me in this matchup. Next game here, we got the Buffalo Bills at the Arizona Cardinals. If you guys have ended up enjoying this video thus far, please make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. In this matchup, we have the battle of two of the great young quarterbacks in the NFL, Kyler Murray up against Joshua Allen. Mr. needs to stand on a step stool to brush his fucking teeth. Kyler Murray is going to play good in this game, and so is Josh Allen. This one is going to be a shootout. If this game is not high scoring, normally I say a game's going to be high scoring. For some reason, fantasy football gods, the football gods, they lay down on me and they spank me in the ass. They say, no, Nick, this is not what's going to happen. But I believe in this one. This is going to be a high-scoring matchup. Kyler versus Josh Allen. And I love Kyler and Josh Allen in this game. I have Kyler Murray as quarterback 1 on the week. And I think Josh Allen is going to slot in as the numero 2 on this week. Kyler and Josh Allen are going to have explosive games like you have explosive diarrhea. After you eat a little bit too much, Taco Bell. Next game here. Taco Bell, if you want to sponsor, let me know down below because I love Taco Bell. 49ers at the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to be starting Drew Brees in this matchup. Mr. Brees defeated the Buccaneers in an absolute monster fashion. This guy, it'll be like in one of those Western duels. If you guys have ever seen Western movies or have played Red Dead Redemption, the video game, I would suggest playing that, but they have the duel, they put the pistol in the fucking ground, and they draw, and then they shoot at each other, right? That's how that shit works. But it's like Tom Brady forgot his gun. Like, he lifted, and he had a Nerf gun, and he shot at Drew Brees with the Nerf gun, and Drew Brees fucking let it rang 44 Magnum shots to the skull of Tom Brady. I don't expect that big of a game out of Drew Brees in this matchup, but we saw Green Bay Packers quarterback, Mr. Discount double check, Aaron Rodgers, play very good up against the Niners defense last week. The Niners defense just looks deflated like a football in New England, so I like Drew Brees in this matchup. 9-inch Nick Mullins, big dick Nick Mullins is going to be a sit for me in this one. I just did not see a lot out of him at all last week up against the Packers. And the Saints defense at this point is probably better than theirs. Next game, speaking about defenses, two defenses that are, well, one defense that's awful in the Seahawks and one defense that's alright. Seahawks at the LA Rams. I like Russell Wilson as well as Goff in this game. For Russell Wilson, it's a no-brainer. You start him every single fucking week. There's no real explanation that has to go into this. For Jared Goff, the only issue I see with the Goffinata is that you either get Jared Mark Sanchez, Jared Mitch Trubisky Goff, or you get Jared Aaron Rodgers Goff, Jared Drew Brees Goff, Jared Tom Brady Goff. You get Jared Pat Mahomes Goff. Whatever your favorite quarterback is, that's what you either get. You either get one or the other. You get a guy who takes a shit right on your chest like your name was Odell Beckham Jr. and signs his name in shit on you. Or you get Jared Goff who does that, but to your opponent. Which one will it be this week? Based upon the defensive matchup, I think Goff plays very good. I think McVay's a smart man, and he will go ahead and figure out a plan to get the Seahawks defense down bad, and Jared Goff will play well. But again, there's always the tale of the two-faced Jared Goff. One side, very nice. The other side, not so nice. So, with that said, take it as you will. Goff's kind of a dice roll, in my opinion, on a weekly basis. Next game here, we got the AFC North matchup, the Cincinnati Bengals at the Pittsburgh Steelers, the team that has not lost a game versus the team that has a fucking tie. Big Ben versus Joe Burrow. In this one, I don't like Joe Burrow in this matchup. The Steelers' defense just seems stone cold scary. The first time these two teams played, didn't go too well for Mr. Joe Burrow. Now, I don't expect Joe Burrow to play as bad as he did the first time. That was a couple of games into his career. They're coming off of a bye week last week, so I think Burrow will be prepared. And is a guy, if you're in a deeper league, you can start. But in like a normal 10-12 team league, I'm nowhere near looking towards starting Joe Burrow this week up against that Steelers defense. We saw them get kind of dicked down by Gilbert Gottfried, the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys last week, but I don't expect that to happen this week. And Big Ben Roethlisberger is going to go ahead and be a start for me. This Bengals defense, not so good. Big Ben is at home. Big Ben plays, he's like two different breeds. At home, this man is the scariest gorilla you see. He's like fucking Harambe. Maybe, what's bigger than Harambe? I don't even know. Like one of those fucking huge-ass gorillas. And then, away, this motherfucker's like Curious George. Like, the monkey with the guy in the yellow suit. Now, you know what I learned about Curious George? Now, I will only talk about this for a couple seconds because some of you guys are older, some of you guys are younger. Maybe you've never seen Curious George. I'm 21 years old. Curious George, his fucking friend is this guy wearing a yellow suit, and I only realized when I was older that he likes the guy wearing the yellow suit because yellow is the fucking color of a banana. I never realized that until just recently. So there's your guys' Curious George talk for the week. Big Ben, good up against bad defenses at home. I start him in this matchup. Next game, here we got the Baltimore Ravens at the New England Patriots. The Patriots coming off of a decisive win up against the Jets. Just kidding. Wasn't decisive at all. Took to a field goal to win. I don't know about Cam Newton in this game. The Ravens defense is pretty stout. Cam Newton looks like shit. Not starting him. Lamar Jackson going up against the Patriots. Lamar Jackson has looked like shit, but this is a good matchup for him. He only plays good against bad teams. The Patriots right now are a bad team. Lamar Jackson is a start this week for me. And the final game of the week, Monday Night Football between, you like that, Kirk Cousins and Mr. 9-inch Nicholas Foles of the Chi-Town Bears. While I kind of gave this one a nice hype up, the hype fucking music, the hype man down here for this game, it's not going to be that hype at all. It's going to be low scoring, very heavily ran. Kirk Cousins, I think the receivers will be fine, right? I don't think the receivers are going to take a stinky shit right on your face. But I do worry about them having top 10 potential in this matchup. That's talking about Jefferson, obviously, and Adam Thielen. For the Bears, I think that Allen Robinson will be fine, but Nick Foles just can't throw a football very well. I think he's better than Mitch Trubisky, though, so I don't know what to think about it, but I do know I don't want to be starting him, so I'm not going to be starting either of these guys. That's about it. There's not too much of an explanation to go down here. Just not a good game at all for your eyes. Of course, on Monday night, because why would they put a good game there? They just give us this bullshit every single fucking week. With that said, if you guys did end up enjoying, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. Make sure you guys check out overlaydfs.com as well. Link down below in the description. I love you all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. As always, good boy.